You wake up in level 130 of the Backrooms. The first thing you notice isn't the dampness seeping through your clothes or the echo of water lapping against concrete edges. It's the light, that sickly, artificial sunlight that filters through the humid air, casting everything in a jaundiced glow that makes your skin look diseased. You blink, but the sensation doesn't fade. Your eyes adjust slowly, reluctantly, to this new reality. You're lying on wet concrete. The surface beneath you is rough, pockmarked with tiny holes that trap moisture and something else, a black substance that clings to your fingertips when you push yourself up. It has the consistency of tar, but moves with liquid intention, as if it's alive. You wipe it on your shirt, but it leaves a stain that seems to pulse with its own dark rhythm. The room stretches before you in perfect geometric precision. Rectangular, always rectangular. The pool dominates the center, its edges sharp and unforgiving. The water inside is that particular shade of green you remember from neglected aquariums, with flecks of something darker swirling just beneath the surface. The walls rise around you like a concrete tomb, broken only by doorways that lead to identical chambers beyond. You stand, and your movement creates ripples across the water's surface. But the ripples move wrong. They spread outward in perfect concentric circles, then reverse direction, pulling back toward where your shadow falls across the pool's edge. Physics bends here, warps itself into new configurations that your mind struggles to process. The sound of your breathing echoes strangely in this space. Each exhale seems to linger longer than it should, creating harmonics with itself until you can't distinguish between the sound you're making and the sound returning to you. Your heartbeat becomes visible as vibrations in the contaminated water, spreading outward like sonar pings mapping the dimensions of your fear. You walk to the edge of the pool and peer down. The water is deeper than it has any right to be, 25 meters, perhaps more. In the depths, something moves. Not swimming, moving. The black sludge that coats the bottom shifts and reorganizes itself into patterns that remind you of bone structures, of calcium arrangements you once studied in anatomy textbooks. But these patterns are wrong, assembled by something that understands the components, but not their purpose. Behind you, pipes run along the walls in maze-like configurations. They carry water from sources you cannot fathom to destinations you dare not imagine. The flow creates a constant whisper, a susurrus of liquid movement that forms almost words in languages your ears recognize, but your mind rejects. Sometimes the whispers sync with your breathing. Sometimes they contradict it, creating discordant rhythms that make your chest tight with inexplicable anxiety. You move through doorway after doorway, room after room, each space identical yet subtly different. Here, the pool extends across the entire floor, forcing you to wade through water that clings to your legs like liquid mercury. There, the pool hangs from the ceiling, defying gravity, while droplets of water fall upward into its embrace. The droplets pause mid-air sometimes, forming patterns that look like star configurations or neural networks before completing their impossible journey. In one room, you find furniture. A chair sits beside a chest of drawers, both positioned as if someone had been living here. The wood is swollen with moisture, warped into organic curves that suggest growth rather than construction. When you approach the chest, your reflection in its wet surface shows not your face, but the face of someone who has been here much longer. Someone whose features have begun to elongate, whose eyes have developed the same greenish tint as the pool water. You reach for the drawer handle, and the moment your fingers make contact, reality fractures. The room tilts, slides, and suddenly you're elsewhere. Another pool room, but this one's different. The light here is redder, casting everything in the hue of old blood. The water moves independently of any current, forming whirlpool patterns that spell out warnings in a script you almost understand. Hours pass, or maybe days. Time loses meaning in this place where the light never changes and the sound of water never stops. You begin to notice that your footsteps are leaving traces in the concrete, small depressions that fill with black water and refuse to drain. When you look back, the trail you've left behind forms patterns, spirals, and curves that remind you of fingerprints or galaxy formations. The contamination spreads. First your fingertips, then your palms. The black substance doesn't just stain, it integrates. It finds the microscopic spaces between your cells and fills them with itself. You try to wash it off in one of the pools, but the water only makes it worse. The contamination spreads up your arms like a living thing, creating delicate filigree patterns under your skin that pulse in time with some alien heartbeat. You discover that you can breathe underwater now, not through any conscious effort, but as if your lungs have learned to extract oxygen from the contaminated liquid. This should terrify you, but instead, it feels like coming home. The water embraces you with familiar arms, and in its depths, you find others who have made the same discovery. They are no longer entirely human. Their limbs have elongated to match the rectangular geometry of their prison. Their skin has taken on the greenish tint of the pool water, and their eyes reflect light like polished stones. They move through the water with predatory grace, their movements creating those impossible ripples that defy physics and reason. One of them approaches you, and you realize it's yourself from 3 days ago, or 3 years, or 3 centuries. Time flows differently here, pooling and eddying like the contaminated water. This other version of yourself speaks without opening its mouth, the words transmitted directly through the liquid medium that now fills your lungs. The pools are infinite, it tells you. The patterns never end. Each room leads to another room, leads to another room, and each pool reflects all the others. You are swimming in every pool simultaneously now. You are the contamination spreading through the water system. You are the black sludge at the bottom of every chamber. You look down at your hands, and they're no longer your hands. The fingers have stretched and webbed, better suited for life in this aquatic maze. Your skin has become translucent, revealing the network of pipes and tubes that has grown inside